वन्दे देवमुमापतिं सुरगुरुं वन्दे जगत्कारणं वन्दे पन्नगभूषणं मृगधरं वन्दे पशूनां पतिं वन्दे सूर्यशशाङ्कवह्निनयनं वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियं वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वन्दे शिवं शङ्करं वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वन्दे शिवं शङ्करम्. Uma Mahesvara Stotram, the first verse. Namah Shivabhyam Navayauvanabhyam Parasparashlishtavapurdharabhyam Namah Shivabhyam Navayauvanabhyam Parasparashlishtavapurdharabhyam Nagendra Kanya Vrishaketanaabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam Nagendra Kanya Vrishaketanaabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam. Namo Namaha Shankara Parvatibhyam. Unto Lord Shankara and Goddess Parvati, my salutations again and again. With this beginning, the first verse describes the Lord and the Goddess as ever young and ever fresh, ever eternal, Nava Yauvanabhyam, and they are ever in a inseparable eternal embrace. Parasparashlishta vapurdharabhyam. And looking into this insight, this understanding of the cosmic being as being both the masculine and the feminine, being both he and she, being both, you can be both when you transcend both. You cannot be both without transcending both in your essential nature. And so here the Lord is both because He transcends, He is one that transcends genders, and here keeping the cosmic being as both male and female, as inseparable, we have a whole Vedic civilization, a whole consciousness of the people which look upon, which give the female, the goddess, the individual as much standing or position as the male. The female is not considered to be any lowly or a property, as some of the faiths later on talks about the female as a property of the male, or it talks about the female as a temptress, or it talks about the female in multiple derogatory ways. Well, in the Vedic model, you have the female is given equal position to the male. The two are inseparable. Even the marriage rituals say the two are inseparable. And I began to give you an insight into how even in the very Veda itself, we have Rishikas or female sages or seers, women seers. Ghosha, Godha and so on, Apila, and all of them, they were seers of the mantras of Rig Veda or Yajur Veda. You find they are quoted. Specific mantras are attributed, associated with those female women seers. Then we moved into how the Vedic, the Upanishads also, in the so many Upanishads, the goddess Uma, she becomes the one who reveals the Brahma Vidya, the ultimate sacred knowledge. From Upanishads we came into the Puranas. I listed for you so many Puranas that describe the worship of the mother goddess, the mother goddess of the universe. And from there we came to Itihasa or Ramayana, like works, historical poems. And even in Ramayana you find you could tell like the position of women was in the Vedic age, how they contributed, how they participated in the fire rituals. Even in fire ritual, even in the Vedic fire ritual called Upasana Agni, the woman had a role in maintaining that fire, in participating in the ritual, in Upasana Agni. So like this, we came to Ramayana 10,000 plus years ago. And we see so many women in Ramayana, highly literate, highly educated. Some of them even contribute to in the Rajya Sabha, in the royal kingdom as queens. They sit in the proceedings of a Sabha, of a royal court. They contribute their wisdom. Their voice is heard. Like a Gandhari you find in Mahabharata. Not that anybody listened to Gandhari. Her own children don't listen to her. But she carries that wisdom, that great respect, and she freely gives her opinions in the Rajya Sabha. Thus coming to Mahabharata too, we saw yesterday a glimpse into Ramayana. In Mahabharata, which we attributed some 5,000 years ago, they talk about Mahabharata. Well, even 5,000 years ago, the women carried a great position. Even women who were like Satyavati was a fisherwoman, and who becomes a queen later on. She plays a significant role in the Kuru Vamsha, in the Kuru clan, royal clan. We hear of Amba, another princess who played a very big role, a very significant role in expressing her anger and vengeance against Bhishma, the great grandsire of the Kuru family. In the same way, we find Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas. And what a dharmic woman she was. What a pure soul she was. And Kunti's, her dharma was such that when her children were sent away to the forest, even though she was the queen, she belonged to the palace, she chose not to live in the palace with her king Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. She chose not to live there in the royal patronage of the king then. She lived with Vidura, who stood for Dharma. In the same way, Draupadi, a wife of the Pandavas, Very beautiful dialogues are there of Draupadi and Satyabhama, the woman saint in the forest where she meets her. There is a dialogue between Draupadi and Satyabhama where Satyabhama asks Draupadi, how is it that you hold the love of the Pandavas so well? What kind of magic you have, what kind of medicine you have, what kind of mantra you use to capture their love? She's asked this question, and why? Because Draupadi, when she becomes the queen, she knows, she manages the entire treasury of Hastinapura. She manages the wealth of that whole kingdom. And so Draupadi is an astute politician and administrator. And she's asked this question when she's in the forest, and she says, I don't control my husband's based on mantra or magic or some medicine. No. There is only one quality that keeps your man with you, she says, and that quality I offer to them. Now, what is that quality? Satyabhama asks, and she says that quality is devotion and service, seva. I serve them and I am devoted to them. It is in this attitude of devotion and seva that I receive all their love and trust, and they have empowered me to be where I am. And so these kinds of stories in the itihasa, in the historical poems, describe the mental makeup of the women, describe the culture of the land, the ethic of the land, the nobility, the femininity of these women. In fact, they are the ones who are said to hold the culture together. It is they who are the backbone of the home. Home and culture and customs and manners and traditions, if there is between the two, if you ask who holds the cultural traditions, how such ancient traditions were kept intact in this civilization, tracing back to thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands. It is the women of this land. It is the women because they were empowered to be where they were. And so until Mahabharata you find great what you call position that women had. When Draupadi was disrobed, when there was an attempt to disrobe Draupadi, and Lord Krishna protects her, saves her, she makes a declaration in her wrath, in her anger, because dharma is so much violated. And when dharma is violated, her statements turn out to be true later in Mahabharata. When Duryodhana is vanquished, killed, and so on and so forth, those who know the story, you will really be in awe. It's in amazement. I never get tired of reading Mahabharata and Ramayana because so many nuances, so much of the wealth of the psychology, the consciousness of the people, the attitudes, the approach, the right, the wrong, the good, the bad, the dharma, the adharma. Everything is out there for you to learn and imbibe from. They're all archetypal models to emulate, to imbibe, their life for us to imbibe. Well, between Mahabharata, after Mahabharata, till the Mughal rule started, we are still looking at 5,000 years after Mahabharata, or 4,000 years if you were to go by the historians. And there you find later on in time, a few thousand years later, you find the onset, the coming of Buddhism. Coming of Buddhism meant coming of an ascetic religion. It is an ascetic religion, it was, and which lowered, because of so many ascetics, it lowered the marriage age for the women. That being so, there was loss of Upanayanam, or the sacred thread ceremony which the women underwent to have Vedic education. They began to be protected in the home front, but because they could no more be trusted outside. Ascetic religions where men deny themselves the family life, in those societies then the women are to be more protected. Their safety was first taken into account, and girls began to stay at home and study, but the formal Vedic education got denied to them. Young marriages came into the picture. In spite of that, women could read, write, sing, dance. And even then we have philosophers. Devahuti is a great philosopher, and her husband Kardama and son Kapila in Bhagavad Purana, we talk about her teachings. Queen Chudala teaches the Upanishads, the philosophy, to King Shikhidwaja, and both husband and wife become spiritual souls, realized souls. They both attain self-realization. Many poets were born, women poets were born, like Vijayanka of the 7th century, like Anu Lakshmi, Madhavi, Reva, Shashi Prabha. So many women poets you hear of. You hear of the Queen Shantala Devi of the 12th century, Ubhaya Bharati. So many queens were there, poetesses were there. Women also became astronomers, great astronomers and astrologers. In Bengal, Kshanavati is known as a great astrologer. Women were also mathematicians, great mathematicians, and Leelavati was the daughter of Bhaskara, who was a great mathematician. They not only were in academics, they built temples. As queens, they focused on the culture, and you have marble temple building in Mount Abu. Queen Shri Devi's contribution to great temples, building Virupaksha temple and so on, is talked about in the history. King Vikramaditya's queen, Vikramaditya II, his queen Chalukya, she builds this temple, Virupaksha temple. Loka Mahadevi is her name. They build tanks, they build steps into the river, they build wells in the villages and the districts. A lot of work with the natural worlds was done by the queens, the women. Not only that, this civilization has a number of women who were warriors. Think of it. Women warriors. They were rulers. They had military training. Chandragupta had women bodyguards, and they moved with King Chandragupta on chariots and horses and elephants, and had weapons, carried weapons with them. The Pandya kingdom was governed by women. The Bhaumakara dynasty of Orissa, between the 9th and 11th century, well, you have a line of queens who ruled the kingdom. They were called Mahadevis. And this we have 4th, 5th century, we have Prabhavati Gupta, Akka Devi, Chalukya ruler of the 11th century, Naika Devi, who takes a whole army against Muhammad Ghori in the 1100 AD and destroys him. And so you have Rudra Ma of Kakatiya kingdom, all these women who became princesses and queens. And in those days, mortality rate was much higher. And therefore the women who were in the royal families were also equally trained in military, in war, and thus they protected their kingdoms. Amazing stories. And then came 1,000 years ago, the dark ages of this Vedic civilization was the onset of the Islamic invaders. 1,000 years ago, and they kept coming from, they were Arabs, Afghans, Pathans, Turks, Mughals, and India fought for 7 centuries. Fought and fought and fought to protect the civilization. And these invaders came to loot because there was so much wealth in this land. Even Columbus came looking for India and by mistake he thought the American Indians were the East Indians. But all the world over, this was a civilization which had spiritual wealth and material wealth. It was the golden age of India in those days. And so when these invasions started to happen, as I said, 7 centuries, India fought relentlessly and finally succumbed. And so many libraries were burned, so many sculptures, so many art, architecture, so much wealth was looted. The history is, it is no wonder this history is hidden, buried, because if you would open it up, I'm not sure whether people of this docile civilization will be able to digest and grieve and cry and weep and cross it and close it and move forward. I don't see such a strength in the people, and so we live in denial of such a gruesome 1,000-year history of destruction of the civilization. And here we had, it is with this impact, we had practices came, practices of sati came. Sati was a horrible practice where women went into self-immolation. Which women? The women of the royal families, the warrior clan, the Rajput women. Rajput women such as Padmini, Panna, Durgavati, Chand Bibi, Tarabai, in the 14th to 17th centuries, you find so much of these practices became popular because they never wanted, when their husbands died in the war front, they did not want to live as a widow, and they would be taken in the harems of the new kings, and instead they rather self-immolate, and they jumped into, hundreds of them would jump into the fire. Thus they would hold their dignity in their death as in their lives. Thus sati became a very big custom here. Women who became nuns, they would live in the temples as married to the deity, temple deity, and in that marriage they would become devotees of the divine. singing and dancing to the glories of the divine. They were called Devadasis. But when these invaders came, they became Rajadasis. They were grabbed from the temples and put in these kingdoms as courtesans, as court dancers, to sing in praise of the kings, and thus the position of women kept dropping and dropping. In spite of that, many great literary women who became poets, many women became saints. And you have so many women saints in this culture, like Mirabai, like Muktabai, like Akkabai, like Ahalyabai. All these saints, women saints you hear about, and we till today their poetry is in the culture, in the music and dance of the people of this culture. But along with Sati came the Parda system, veiling of the face which was not there before. Lot of rigid practices were there. Still silently education was there for women until the British arrived in this country. When they came as travelers in the 17th century, they were all praised in their writings. Voltaire and French philosophers and others, they simply go eloquent about the great civilization of the Veda. They are stunned, amazed to see that women, there is so much education. Every village there is education. Women are being educated, which was unheard of. They write, they have written works along these lines. As long as they were travelers, they praised this land. Once their minds changed and they became rulers, then they began to destroy the whole educational system of this country. Was brought to shreds. It was destroyed in such a massive way that really it is a horrendous history in the last 1,000 years. Well, the position of women in this land has changed and changed and changed, as any ancient land would that has faced thousands of years of history. But the beauty of this land is miraculously the Vedic philosophy and thought continues to thrive, exist in the consciousness of its people. I say miraculously because it is in spite of us, it is there. That is why somebody said God is everywhere, but his hometown is India. Why is his hometown India? Because somehow it is because of divine grace that we are all still talking about the great heritage. There is still literary materials are available. This great guru tradition is available. The great knowledge called the spiritual knowledge of oneness is still available. Still there are ancient few temples left which go back to 1,500, 2,000 years old. Traces are there. Traces of ancient culture is still there. Is it not a land of the gods? Isn't it that the soil, the nature is protecting the people? That we can even today talk about this great heritage. And so, really, to talk about the Lord as he and she, as male and female, and look into the mythology, look into the lands. In Tiruvannamalai, I will tell you a story how Arunachala, Shiva, that great holy hill, is the form of Shiva and Parvati, Ardhanarishwara. There is so much to share with you really, and I have particularly chosen Uma Maheshwara Stotram because this concept, this insight of understanding the Lord as the seen and the unseen, the Maya, the Shakti and Shiva, the female and the male, both components to make the whole, the yin and the yang, you may say. Well, whatever you want to say, it is not whole. The cosmic being is not purnam, is not full, is not fullness, is not limitlessness without including the female, without including 50%, what makes up 50% of humanity or 50% of all life forms. It is the male and the female. It is this coming together and remaining inseparable that becomes the cause, the source of a new creation. And so we will see how he talks about in the third word, Nagendra Kanya Vrishaketanabhyam. Nagendra, Naga is not Nagendra Kanya, it is Naga. Naga is mountain, there is a mistake there. It is Nagendra Kanya. Naga is a mountain, and therefore she is considered to be the daughter of the king of the mountains. The Nagendra, the king of the mountains, Nagana Mindraha, he is Himavan, the Himalayas, is said to be the king of the mountains, and his daughter is Uma, daughter of Himavan. Why Himavan? She is the daughter. She is cool, she is peace, she represents peace. And so Nagendra Kanya and Vrisha Ketanabhyam. So Vrishaha Ketanaha Yasya. Vrishaha is Vrishabha, the bull. The bull is the dhwaja, Ketana, the dhwaja, the flag. The one who is represented by the bull on the flag is who? Parameshvara, Maheshvara, Lord Shiva. And so to both Uma, the daughter of Himavan, and to Shiva, who is represented by the flag of Nandi, the bull, well, unto this cosmic being represented by Shiva and Parvati, my salutations. More we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.